Hello, welcome to Tack Talk. My name is Kiley, and I'm joined today by a very special guest. We'll kind of chit chat, let people trickle in. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell
Hello,
people about you.
I am Ella J. I don't think this is my first go around on Fightful Overworked, but it is my debut on Tag Talk. Kiley, we've been talking about this for a while. I'm so excited to be here. I mean, I work for multiple sites, but podcasting, talking about wrestling is my favorite thing in the world. So I'm glad to be here today.
I'm so glad to have you. We've been talking just for months.
I
Maybe
know.
one day we have to do something
Yeah.
together. One day we'll make it work. But I'm super glad we did get to make it work. And I'm super glad to be here with you because we have a lot to go through today. It's kind of going to be a little bit of a full episode, but that's fine because it just means we get to be on screen together longer.
It does.
So, the plan for today, we're going to talk about the Gun Club. Still not sure what their name is because for whatever reason now they're AEW World Tag Team Champions.
Yes.
I don't know how that happened, but we're just going to have to deal with it now, I guess. And we're also going to preview WWE Elimination Chamber, which is looking to be kind of a really great show, which we're not used to between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
No. It's
But you
actually
know
a
what?
good kind of
Yeah.
it's a worthy lead up to WrestleMania. The
Yeah.
I feel like the pay-per-view as a whole is like worthy. It just feels like obviously the Elimination Chamber match itself is not really the selling point of this pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view as a whole is very like stacked, if that makes sense.
No, I 100% get what you mean. It feels like there was thought and attention paid into every match, which I love because I am so tired of Royal Rumble and then nothing until WrestleMania.
Fair. I think it used
So,
to be Fastlane. It used to be like
yeah.
Fastlane and then Chamber. We used to have another whole pay-per-view
Yeah.
in between Rumble. We used to have two pay-per-views in between
The
Rumble.
Dark Ages.
Yes, I believe for a while it was Rumble, Fastlane, Chamber, or it used to be Rumble, Chamber, then Fastlane, then Mania. But obviously, there is after this, it's you got 6 weeks then to build to Mania instead of maybe say 3 weeks with another pay-per-view in March. So that's a good thing, I think.
I 100% agree, especially because it always felt like Fastlane or whatever they would put in the
Yeah,
middle there would just be thrown
a
together and
filler.
boring and
Yeah, it was
nothing made
filler.
sense.
Yeah.
It was filler. And it's filler you don't need in wrestling.
No.
And I'm glad that everyone is on the same page. If you're a Fastlane fan, I'm very sorry. But
They moved Fastlane then to kind of December. It was in December, I believe, for a while. Normally, like right because it took the place
Mhm.
of TLC for a little bit too. I think it used to be kind of sometimes in December too, from what I remember. But I miss TLC too. But that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, I mean, TLC was always fun, but it is another discussion.
Yeah,
We'll save
yeah,
that
yeah.
for another time. But I'm so glad to have you, mainly because I needed someone who is like a bright ray of sunshine for what we're about to talk about, and that is the guns.
I wouldn't say I'm a ray of sunshine, but I have talked a bit about their shocking victory, last Wednesday on Dynamite.
So, you know what? I'll give you the floor. Go ahead. Give us your thoughts and opinions on this because I have a lot.
It feels to me that it's again unnecessary. They're obviously transitional champions, but
Yeah.
they were transitional champions for the team that they lost them from. So they're not going to hold these titles longer than a month. They claim they're probably going to win them right back at Revolution. So for me, I mean, it adds a little bit of a plot twist to the kind of Billy Gunn, what side is he going to choose kind of thing. It kind of raises the stakes in that. But quite frankly, I mean, the Gun Club, the Guns, the Ass Boys, whatever you want to call him, are literally just transitional champions for the champs he took the titles off of. That to me, it's kind of like this back and forth that we had. I mean, sometimes, people say let it play out, but for me, I just don't have as much faith as I wanted to for this run. This is not going to be a long run, but there's a little bit more at stake there. Billy Gunn makes a little bit more interesting, so I think that they can have something to lead into Revolution, but I don't know.
Before I go into my little rant, I guess,
Okay.
just a reminder, guys, if you want your question, your comment, your statement read on air, make sure to submit a super chat. Um, I think we're still doing the joke that, I mean, it's not a joke. It's totally not a joke, but all super chats will go to Fightful Overbook buying WWE. So make sure you get
Yes.
you
Well,
make sure you
that's a fund
make sure
I
you
can
get
get
your spot.
behind.
We're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're gonna outbid Comcast.
I know.
We're gonna do it.
Or maybe Tony Khan himself.
Can you imagine Tony Khan buying WWE?
No, I would not. He would not be able to handle all of that plus the football stuff. No. Just no.
I don't even want to entertain the
No,
thought.
I don't either.
Oh, Tony Khan. It's like, I don't want to go off too much on a tangent, but it's like how people say Vince McMahon never sleeps. Tony Khan never sleeps.
No,
It's
he will
even worse.
literally be wrapping up Rampage, like a live Rampage, and then be on a flight out to the Jacksonville Jaguars the next day, like he did a few weeks ago.
Wild. I can't even.
No. I saw one of the comments. No, I don't want
Was it
Comcast.
enough?
But yes, please, no.
So Corey
Okay,
says
okay, but for
Cody
real,
should
that
buy
might be a
Comcast.
liable option. Honestly, I could see him possibly doing that just to be Tony Khan.
Annoying. Yeah, just to be his
You
little
said
self.
it, not me.
But speaking of annoying, I tweeted a lot about this because, well, one, I was shocked that it happened.
Yeah.
And two, I think it was completely dumb. So so like you said, Revolution is in a few weeks. It's March 5th, I believe.
Yeah.
So
3 weeks.
yeah, it's coming up. February's the short month. So it's not like we even have a full month. And the Acclaimed, it's not like their popularity was declining. They were still, people loved the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to see them lose the titles for the first time, presuming they win them back, fingers crossed. I would have loved to see that done in a meaningful way, in a meaningful story with, someone like FTR or Dark Order, or like a really like established team. So the Guns winning here upset me because, one, it does make the tag division look stupid, if we're being honest. And two, if you really had to do a transitional champion here, like if there's, I don't know why they thought they had to, but if they did, like there's so many other teams that would fit in that spot perfectly well. You didn't have to be the Guns, who are nowhere near ready to be world champions.
No, and I was saying this last week. Like, I hate to kind of make this comparison, but the Guns were pretty much in the mix of kind of on the same wavelength as like the Varsity Blondes, where they would literally just be thrown in there to like lose in like squash matches, And so, I mean, I get it, the history, the link, it's personal. Billy Gunn is their father. Billy Gunn kind of turned granted, they took some shots at Billy Gunn too, but it's kind of this struggle, this real life thing going on with Billy Gunn, is attaching himself to the Acclaimed. Now we think he's back with the Guns. We don't really know what's going on, So there's more added to the stakes, at least outside of just like the titles. But again, I don't really see the vision in the need to. You can go along with the story of the struggle for Billy without having to put the titles on the Guns. Again, this will not, I would be shocked if this reign lasted longer than 4 weeks. Like I'm predicting the Acclaim to win that back at Revolution, but I don't think it was necessary, like you said, to strap the titles on them. Sometimes people like transitional champions are necessary, but not if it's for the same team that had them before.
Yeah, and you could tell this Billy Gunn story without the belts. Like you could have the Gun Club, begging Billy to help them beat the Acclaimed at Revolution, and then Billy doesn't. And it's the same story you just told on Dynamite, but better. And I don't think the Guns, people think it's going to be FTR at Revolution or FTR after Revolution or whatever. I honestly have no desire to see the Guns versus FTR ever again. And I completely get that the Acclaimed haven't been in a story with anyone besides the Guns and Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah,
I get it, but that doesn't mean you can't build them a good story. It's the Acclaimed. You could put them with anyone and people would like it because it's the Acclaimed. And so the fact that you're doing this title change on a random Wednesday, a month before, a pay-per-view, which is Revolution's always been a big pay-per-view for them. It just feels sloppy and it just feels completely unnecessary. And I think the fan reaction is proof of that.
I feel like too, we were talking about FTR. I mean, Dax was talking about on his podcast too that obviously their contracts are up in April. We don't know
Mhm.
whether that's the beginning or the end of the month, but they have a big decision to make of whether they're going to not return, if they're going to leave wrestling altogether, just take a break, go somewhere else. They have a big, their future, FTR's future is so uncertain right now, and they're going to have to make a decision and make it soon because their contracts are up in April. So as of right now, we don't even know if FTR is going to be around for a possible run against the Guns, say, or against the Acclaimed. So I don't even know right now. I don't think that Tony Khan is thinking that far in advance if we're hoping for FTR, especially when FTR doesn't even know what they're going to do once their contracts are up in April. So again, I don't know. Obviously, I think the Acclaimed win these back, but again, where do they go from here? Technically, the Guns would get another rematch to that, and it still won't be done
Yeah.
till maybe April, you know?
Yeah.
But this is definitely still going to be going on, I would say, till at least the end of March, because say the Acclaimed win them back, like we're predicting, technically FTR or not FTR, the Guns would get a rematch, right? Which means it's not over yet. So this is going to keep going on for at least, I think, about probably 6 more weeks at the very least.
And I know, a lot of people, their knee-jerk reaction on Twitter was, well, FTR definitely resigned then. And I think that's a big leap to make. The Guns
Possible.
winning, it's possible, completely possible.
But
I
as of
think,
last week, Dax Harwood literally said,
yeah.
we have a big decision to make. So unless he was maybe trying to throw us off, but I mean, I would be shocked if they made that decision already like within a week.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think it's a big jump to say, okay, the Guns won the world titles. That must mean FTR is coming back. I mean, it's entirely possible that this was booked with the intent that they could slot FTR into that spot if they needed.
Maybe.
But it's also just as likely they did this so that they could do the Acclaimed or FTR at Revolution. So I'm completely and I've said this before on Tag Talk. It really does feel like the tag division was sort of robbed for the trios division. Like a lot of talent moved over there to build that division, and then they didn't really put anyone else back in the tag division. So the Acclaim, that was like a big win for the tag division to have a team that was so over. And I would have liked to see them have a legitimate, real, impactful story with a team that wasn't the Guns. I didn't like any of the Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett stuff either. I thought I think that whole little Jay Lethal's crew, I am not into that at all.
They're all just kind of, I mean, obviously Jay and, Jeff Jarrett have that history, but it just seems kind of thrown together at this point. And I know
Mhm.
they're massive heat magnets, though, so they would not go against the Guns themselves, So you would
Yeah.
have to have that other team, whether it's the Acclaimed or FTR or somebody right now, Or again, they just kind of throw teams together, as we've seen. You do have though. I mean, Top Flight is another great team, but obviously they just teamed with AR Fox. Like you said, they got involved in the trio stuff
Yeah.
last week. I mean, that would have been like a team. There's multiple other tag teams, but like you said, a lot of those have been moved over, reassigned to kind of the trios division, or at least getting like trio shots. So it's kind of depleting the tag scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I do like trios mainly
Mhm.
because I love the Elite and I love to see them on TV. Um but I don't know, like you have Matt Hardy and, Isaiah Cassidy,
Mhm.
and you have Jungle Hook,
JAS. Yeah, you
you have
always said
JAS
yeah.
2.0. You
Mhm.
have so many teams that you could make work, that you could put together and make it work, and they didn't, and they went with the Guns. And I don't know. I think it was there's I understand the logic behind the story, and I understand that the story is there. And I'm not saying that the Guns and the Acclaimed were not feuding at all. But I do think that this was just unnecessary. And I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way as someone who loves tag team wrestling.
Well, we'll see how the Guns respond on Wednesday, I would think. How they have 3 weeks to build to what I assume will be the rematch at Revolution. So, I mean, they've got some time to fill. They've got 3 weeks of programming to fill. So, I mean, I'm at least open to seeing what do they have? What else do they have at stake besides the obvious rematch that's going to ensue? What's make me going to believe that the Guns even have a chance at retaining these titles that they just obtained,
Mhm.
Unless it's kind of how they attained them by taking advantage of the referee being down. So who knows?
It's going to be interesting. I think this Revolution pay-per-view in general, I don't want to talk too much about it because it's so early, but I think it's going to be like either it's make it or break it for AEW, I think, at this pay-per-view, because there's a lot of stories that fans are not so into right now. So how AEW contends with that on a pay-per-view stage where fans do expect like great all-time shows every single time. It's going to be weird.
That and the timing, when you have a 60-minute Iron Man match on a pay-per-view that's normally at least 6 hours anyway. Granted, they are on the Pacific Coast, I believe, for this, like the West Coast for this pay-per-view. Us East Coasters are probably going to be up till 3 a.m. watching this pay-per-view. I feel like it's going to be at least like 7 hours long, to be honest. You have unless they're going to unfortunately cut the time on a lot of other matches. But like, dude, when you have a 60-minute Iron Man match, I was just talking about this the other day. We're going to be up till 3 a.m. on the East Coast just watching this pay-per-view because they're on the West Coast. So if they're like, if we go till 12, it's only 12 o'clock here. But no, it's going to be 3 a.m. for us. So I'd be shocked if this went any less than 6 hours. Like, honestly,
I fully expect the pre-show is going to be packed with matches. And trios, you have to give them like 20-30 minutes. Chris Jericho, he needs his time. He has to be in there. And Jade, she'll get like a 5-minute squash like she always does. And but I have thoughts and opinions about that. But it's going to be like, I'm thinking back like Wrestle Kingdom, like being up that long for Wrestle Kingdom. It's going to be like that.
I got work the next day, dude. Oh,
you're not sleeping.
I am literally going. So this is a Saturday. No, this is a pay-per-view on a Saturday or a Sunday.
It's on a Sunday, I think. I
have work at 8 a.m. in the morning on Monday morning. Yeah, I am not staying up till 3 a.m. No, I'm not staying up till 3 a.m., Kiley. I'm not.
You're just gonna have to watch it later, I guess.
Exactly. I'll watch some of it, but I am not. I can't stay up till 3 a.m.
If they were nice, they'd put the Iron Man match at the end so we can all skip it.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that they would, but then again, like I feel like the crowd by that time might be like worn out, And they're like, oh, we just sit through a 60-minute Iron Man. I don't know.
Oh, they put it at the beginning and we have to sit through it.
They might. I feel like it's going to be at the beginning or the end. For a match like that, of that length, it's got to be one or the other, at the very beginning or the very end.
I'm looking forward to it, but not looking forward to it at the same time.
No.
It's going to be so much, but that's fine. AEW, I'm used to them being over extravagant and...
Oh my God, yeah. And imagine like other time zones too. Oh my God, I can't.
That's like a whole day commitment for people in like England.
Yeah. That's the whole night. Monday. You're literally getting no sleep.
You can't. Unless you watch it at like you're on your own time at a different but then you have to avoid spoilers.
I can never avoid spoilers. That's why, the timeline is a great place to catch up. If you miss stuff, people post clips and GIFs all the time. You get updates in real time.
And you know what? Spoilers, sometimes I see a spoiler and I'm like, oh, yes, I don't have to watch that show now.
No, that's the same. Sometimes, honestly, I just don't feel like watching certain things, but I know my timeline is right there. Instead of actually just turning on the TV, I will just watch via my timeline, as bad as that is.
No, it's efficient. That's what I think. I think it's efficient.
It is. But you know what? Pay-per-view is not going to be 7 hours long.
Elimination Chamber. I love that segue.
You're welcome.
So, WWE Elimination Chamber is this weekend. I think it's Saturday.
Yes, 18th.
And
but also the same day as Battle at the Valley.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a weekend.
Yes.
But Elimination Chamber looks like it's going to be a really great show, I think. I think that a lot of the matches are building towards WrestleMania, which I really appreciate. But I think the biggest match, of course, is Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn. And everything else is just kind of... there.
Story-wise, yes,
Yeah.
because, I mean, I was just reading the betting odds that were unveiled yesterday. I believe they were unveiled. Roman Reigns is overwhelmingly, I think he's negative 2,000 or like 2,500 in favor of retaining in the betting odds, which is astronomical if you think about it. Sami Zayn is only like plus, I don't remember, but it's astronomical, the difference. Obviously, I shouldn't say all, I would say most of us are going in there expecting Roman to retain, but again, it's a story that we're looking forward to, or maybe the minuscule possibility that we believe that Sami Zayn could actually dethrone Roman Reigns. You know, it's something personal. Of course, the championship is on the line, but I think most people are looking to this as like for the story aspect. Even if Sami doesn't win, I hope he gets some sort of arc, some sort of redemption moment, revenge moment. Again, we don't really know the status of the Usos going into this, if they could play into it, but I'm really here for the story of this. And even if Sami Zayn gets one brief moment of revenge, that would be a true payoff for me.
I'm in the same boat. I'm really invested in the dynamic between Sami and Jay. Like you mentioned, the Usos. I think Sami and Roman. I would love to see Sami be champion. Of course,
Yeah.
I think most people would. I don't think it's going to happen, mainly because, well, one, all these reports that WWE management doesn't see him as like a Mania main eventer, which is their prerogative, I guess. But also, I feel like part of Sami's story, he almost has to lose to Roman and come back from that. And I would like to see the relationship between Sami and Jey Uso explored more, whether that's, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens against the Usos at WrestleMania, whether that's Sami versus Jay. Like, I don't know how they would play it, how they would spin the story. They have time. They have multiple weeks to do it. But I think they set it up here. And you mentioned Sami getting revenge. I almost want him to be so good that he takes Roman Reigns by surprise. I want to see that surprise on Roman's face and Paul Heyman's face. And I want him to get so close, but not close enough.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really interesting. And I think it would be interesting for Roman's character too, going into WrestleMania in the match with Cody, where he's not feeling as confident as he normally would be because he had this close call with Sami Zayn. And I'm still in the boat that Cody is beating Roman. I know that some people have jumped ship and now they think Cody should lose, but I think they're being dramatic. And I think that would be really good for Roman Reigns' character.
I think too that after, again, assuming I shouldn't say all people, but I think most of us are assuming again that Sami's going to lose. And then that kind of leaves the question, where does he go for Mania? I think that, like you mentioned, it would be good for Sami to put in everything he has, give up a valiant fight against Roman Reigns that even makes us believe for a second that, oh my gosh, he might actually beat Roman Reigns. But in the end, he doesn't. And I think with that loss would be a lot of devastation for him. So I think I would keep him off of television for a bit. Maybe Kevin Owens gets into it with the Usos and then Sami returns in like a surprise thing of, kind of realigning with Kevin Owens. But also I don't want this thing with Jay to be done. Jay complicates things, like in a good way though.
Yes.
So it's kind of I don't know what Sami Zayn's path is to WrestleMania after Elimination Chamber, whether it is like a 2-on-2, like how does he even potentially break off things with Jay? I don't want him to, but there's going to have to be something. And that's what keeps us hooked. That even after Sami Zayn loses, what happens with Jey Uso? What happens with Kevin Owens? What happens with all of this? The story isn't over at Chamber. And championship wise it is. I feel like he's done with Roman after that, but he doesn't have closure with Jey Uso yet. He just said, I acknowledge you, Jey Uso. So I'm excited to see what happens story-wise for Sami Zayn after Chamber, He needs to get this closure with Roman. Oh, I couldn't beat the tribal chief, but I still have unresolved stuff with both of the Usos. So, I mean, I'm hooked storyline-wise anyways with the bloodline. I have no idea what angle they're going to go with Sami after Elimination Chamber.
I have no idea. I think a lot of people have just assumed that he's going to be with KO and they're going to wrestle for the tag belts, because I feel like that's the easy, obvious route. But like Jey Uso, it's just they're going to have to cover a lot of ground with Jay leading into WrestleMania to make that story make sense, at least from my perspective. So I don't know. I'm really into it. And I don't think the story's over even at WrestleMania. I think
No.
this bloodline story is gonna reverberate through all of these guys' careers forever. I think this is just too impactful of a story and too good for WWE for them to just be like, okay, Roman lost the title, bloodline's over, the end. Which I know they would in the past, they would probably do something like that. But I don't know. I'm really curious to see even after WrestleMania, Sammy and even KO, how they sort of grapple with this bloodline past and all that sort of stuff.
I feel like another possibility too that, Cody Rhodes is obviously going into WrestleMania kind of outnumbered. Like I mentioned, maybe after this loss to Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn is so devastated. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. He got so close. He thought he was going to beat Roman Reigns, and then he's just so devastated. But you know what? Even if he couldn't beat Roman himself, what better way than to help someone else beat Roman Reigns? He couldn't beat Roman Reigns, so maybe he helps Cody Rhodes to beat Roman Reigns. I don't know. I feel like that's another possible angle. Again, it's exciting to have unpredictability heading into WrestleMania season. There's multiple options for Sami Zayn. He could align with KO. Maybe there's nothing with KO, but I feel like they have to address Jey Uso somehow, but also I feel like he's also maybe not done with Roman. There's a lot of unresolved stuff, even after this. And like you said, it's probably going to go past Mania too.
And it's good that it's unpredictable. I think it's unpredictable in a good way. It's not unpredictable like there's plot holes that we just can't follow. It's unpredictable in a way that makes me buy into it a lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. So other matches at Elimination Chamber. So Bobby versus Brock is like a given, I think.
Unofficially official. Like, they had the whole contract thing last week. I think tonight they're actually solidifying it. It's going to happen. It just hasn't been made official yet. But like I said, it's officially unofficial. This is the third in the trilogy. I think this is their third and final one-on-one match. This is what I was talking about last week. It's like, I can see it going one way. I feel like, the Hurt Business is just getting like back together. You want Bobby Lashley to look strong because MVP is realigning himself with him, who he presumes to be like a winner and all of that. But also, like, you don't want to have Brock Lesnar get like squashed again. So I think this is going to be a solid 10-minute match. I think Bobby Lashley should go over here, especially because he's just realigning with the Hurt Business. MVP is not going to want to be with the loser, So I feel like this should absolutely not be like a quick match like we saw with like Brock and Goldberg, where Brock just got like, jackhammered and spinebustered the entire time. I feel like this has to be maybe around 8 to 10 minutes, not super long, but it definitely can't be super short. Bobby Lashley comes out on top. Brock can just show up whenever he feels like it. But I must say, I was never one that was really a Brock fan, but going into his feud with Roman, I became a Brock fan, and I've been liking Country Brock. I can't lie. Country Brock has been really cool to see over the last year or so. So, I mean, technically both of these guys are baby faces going into this now. So, I mean, I'm more invested. I kind of like Country Brock, but I also like Bobby. So I think it's going to be like they say, meaty, what's the saying? Two men slapping meat. Yeah, that's it. It's gonna be that. Bobby Lashley needs to come out on top though, to keep his spot in the Hurt Business. He doesn't want to wane any of MVP's interest, but I don't know.
No, I definitely agree. I think Bobby has to win this because I think he has to be able to say that he wrapped up this trilogy and beat Brock Lesnar and came out on top. I think because there's so many comparisons because they're the same size, they kind of wrestle similar, all this stuff. I think he has to be able to say that he's the better version. And I think Brock's at a point in his career where he can let that happen and not be impacted that much.
Yeah.
He's not going to WrestleMania to wrestle Roman. He's not going to wrestle probably for a title, a world title at least. So I think you can simmer down on the Brock as a beast lore and really focus on guys like Bobby, who are sort of, I don't want to say next generation because he's not young, but who are moving into stories and factions and things like that that are going to have more importance for WWE at Mania and after Mania, whereas Brock doesn't have anything like
He's
that.
part-time. Yeah, Bobby is the full-time one, always on the road. Brock can just show up, come and go as he pleases kind of deal. That's a good point. I don't know where Brock would end up on the Mania card at this point, because this seems to be the final concluding match. It's the best. Whoever wins the trilogy between them. I don't know where Brock goes from here. I think you would leave him off of the WrestleMania card after this. He doesn't necessarily need it. He's not fighting for a championship. And if he does go into Mania, it's going to be like a very last minute feud going on here. But like I said, I do like Cowboy Brock though. But yeah, Bobby needs to win here. Bobby's the full-time performer,
Yeah, I do like Cowboy Brock too, but it almost feels like you can just bring him in for a match and people are just going to be excited to see him.
True.
He doesn't need to be on TV every week leading into WrestleMania the way that Bobby probably should be, I think.
That makes sense.
Okay. So let's talk US Championship, because so I'll just give the list of all the people in this match and then you give me your thoughts. So we have the US title being defended in the Elimination Chamber. It's Austin Theory, who's the champion, Seth Rollins, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Montez Ford. What are your thoughts on this group, and who do you think is going to come out on top?
See, I would have had I read the betting odds this morning because I wrote an article on it, and I was kind of surprised by it. Granted, the margin is very, very close, but as of right now, again, these are betting odds, not necessarily spoilers, but Austin Theory is actually, especially with what his Mania thing is looking projected to be against John Cena, he doesn't need the US Championship. But yet, and again, things could change, but as of right now, Theory is first in the betting odds to retain his championship. Granted, Seth Rollins is the margin is really small. Seth Rollins is second. Yeah. But also, I also kind of don't want them to hot potato, again, the US title, kind of how we saw, Austin Theory won it, Seth won it, Theory won it back. Do we want Seth to win it back kind of? So, granted, it's been 3 months at this point, but it's also kind of a little bit of hot potato. But again, Theory doesn't need the US title heading into his potential match against John Cena. I would like to see Seth Rollins win here, but also Montez Ford, I feel like, is unlikely. He's right after Rollins in the betting odds, which means a little bit surprising because he's coming in as a tag star. And I believe this is his first, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is his first chamber. But I'm so excited to see what Montez Ford can see in the singles matchup going into here. I'm really excited. I think he's going to be the dark horse of this matchup. I feel like he's not going to win it because he's still with Angelo Dawkins, but Montez could be a dark horse in this match. But ultimately, I think it definitely is between Seth and Austin Theory. But now, I'm not so sure. It's WWE. Yeah. They could maybe want it to be the US title. So, John Cena has a championship match at WrestleMania, and then they want Theory to retain at WrestleMania and have that shock value. But I don't think Theory needs that heading into Mania. And I think Seth Rollins could have trying to keep rebuilding this US title picture, which is basically the championship on Raw, because Roman Reigns isn't there half the time. So the US title has been, like Seth Rollins said, kind of the anchor, the title on Raw. So I think Seth Rollins winning it back could maybe put them back on track to have it not, Theory's been bringing a little bit of prestige to it, a little bit of a raising its value, but I think putting it back on Seth Rollins would be a nice call too. But there's multiple ways you could go here. Oh, I don't know.
I had a similar idea because I think, like you said, Theory doesn't need the title to wrestle Cena, and the title being there, I guess it would be an added bonus, but I almost feel like you could get two for the price of one here. You could have this Theory Cena match, which will draw. Cena, his appearances on SmackDown has proven that people love to come watch Cena. But then Seth Rollins being the champion and having a great story leading into WrestleMania with, you could put anyone there. You could put Montez Ford there if you wanted. It does remind me a lot of Monday Night Rollins. And that incredible run he had where he was, he was the guy, but he wasn't the world champion.
Yeah.
And I think that is where Seth Rollins really should be. And if he doesn't win here, I don't know what you do with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania.
I
Like,
don't.
where does he
You
go?
can't have a repeat of last year where it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, we knew who his opponent was going to be, but you can't run that same story of, oh, Seth Rollins doesn't have a WrestleMania opponent, guys. I guess technically like Brock Lesnar would be available then. But like Seth doesn't need to be involved in that.
No.
I feel like Seth, now that you say that, Seth has to win here then, because if he
Yeah.
doesn't, I legitimately don't see what his path to WrestleMania is right now. And granted, they have 6 weeks to build something. But I mean, I'm looking at one of the comments there too. There is a free agent right now that maybe could swoop in, being Jay White. I don't know. I feel like Logan. Oh, I forgot about Logan Paul and Seth Rollins.
Oh, I forgot
I
he's
forgot about
there.
that too. That okay. Now that we say that, yeah, that's happening. Would it be for the U.S. title though? Again, they don't necessarily need the U.S. title for that, but I forgot about Logan Paul and Seth Rollins.
But speaking of, okay, but Logan versus Seth, if Logan wins and comes out of WrestleMania as US champ, I mean, I'm kind of sold on it now. I kind of feel like
can't
Seth
believe
Rollins
I
should
forgot
win.
about that.
Yeah.
It's been all over social media. There's a lot happening right now. Apologies. But yeah, Logan Paul then and Seth Rollins would be the match for that then. I could see it going either way. Theory goes in against Cena with the US title, or Rollins goes in against Logan Paul with the US title. I feel like those are your two likely options right now.
And I think, I mean, if I had to pick, I would pick Seth Rollins
Yeah.
because I think I don't think John Cena needs to be involved in a title picture of
No.
any kind. I think that's just, it's not worth it. And I think it's just, especially, I mean, I do think Cena should put over Theory at WrestleMania, especially if they really are this high on Theory and they think that he can be this, this sort of building block for WWE moving forward. But I don't think it has to be for the title. Maybe that's just me. I think Logan versus Seth with the title would be a lot more interesting.
It would. I mean, they've already been kind of brewing it on their own on social media. Obviously, Logan Paul eliminated Seth Rollins from the Rumble. I know might not like him personally, but Logan Paul has been really freaking good in his appearances in the ring.
Yeah.
And what better way to kind of Seth Rollins is a veteran. He's great he can make Logan Paul look even better. He can take everything that Logan Paul gives to him. I mean, I'm sold on that too, title or not.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Seth or Austin winning here, and it's just a matter of which match do you want to have involving the US title at this point.
Watch,
Who knows, though?
WWE will swerve us and it'll be like Damian Priest or something.
I mean, I'm not against that. I mean,
Yeah.
the Judgment Day hasn't had, I don't believe, any gold in the last year. I mean, Finn Balor had the US title, but that was before he joined
Mhm.
Judgment Day. So, I mean, honestly, putting some gold, I mean, Rhea Ripley's, I mean, she might win at Mania, but putting some gold finally in Judgment Day, I think wouldn't be a bad thing, But
Yeah.
Montez Ford, I feel like, is going to be the dark horse in this match. I feel like he's going to be really exciting to watch. I think he's going to go far, like final 3. I hope he's not eliminated first, but I'm excited to see Montez Ford and kind of this singles element in it. I think he's going to be a dark horse in there.
So let's transition into our women's Elimination Chamber match.
Yes.
Which, what a group this is. Okay, so the winner of the women's Elimination Chamber match is going to go on to WrestleMania to wrestle Bianca Belair because Rhea Ripley, who won the Royal Rumble, announced that she was going to challenge Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania.
Yes.
So the winner of this will get Bianca Belair. So we have Raquel Rodriguez, Nikki Cross, Liv Morgan, Asuka, Natalya, and Carmella. I'm so excited for this because I would love to see any one of these women. I mean, maybe not so much Raquel again, but these other women, I'd love to see them at WrestleMania in a good, prominent spot with someone like Bianca Belair, who is undoubtedly going to get a good spot on the card. She's going to have a lot of crowd hype, all those sort of things. But I'm really pulling for Asuka, especially with the character change. I think that's something so interesting for WWE. especially for Asuka, almost like a career revitalization for her in WWE, moving on from Asuka into her darker roots. I'm excited for that.
I'm kind of the same as you. For me, there's really only 3 that I could even see potentially winning.
Mm-hmm.
Out of those 3, there's really only 2 that I want to win.
Okay.
For me, it has to be, I mean, they obviously have some faith in Raquel, especially if the initial plan for her was her and Ronda to go to the Rumble for the title. So obviously there's some push behind her. Liv Morgan, though, I am still sad that we did not get Liv versus Bianca Belair at Survivor Series. Granted, I know it changed because it involved War Games, but that was a match that, after Money in the Bank, that a lot of us were thinking about, oh my gosh, these two might face at Survivor Series before we knew it was going to be War Games. So me personally, I would like to see that. But again, it would be a kind of a rare babyface versus babyface thing going on here. But I know a lot of people would be invested in Liv Morgan versus Bianca Belair, but I have to agree with you that it's probably going to be Asuka. This new revitalized, showing old shades of Kana Asuka. She's kind of wild, Bianca
Mm-hmm.
Belair. She's had Becky Lynch, who's been kind of like outlandish and bold, but she hasn't really faced anyone quite like Asuka yet, who's kind of, this new side. She's more dangerous and like unpredictable than ever before. So I feel like it would be pushing Bianca Belair kind of into new territory. It's a new character, a new vibe from her opponent that we really haven't seen her go against before. So, and
Yeah.
obviously Asuka coming back as Kana, there's obviously has to be some push for that too as well. So a win here at Chamber would solidify that and put us in new territory. It would be a real challenge for Bianca Belair against a competitor type that we really haven't seen her go against before.
Yeah, and just looking ahead to WrestleMania, where showmanship is so prioritized in a lot of aspects, I think it would be cool to see one, what kind of gear and look Asuka would come into WrestleMania with, and two, how creatively they would work that into the match in a
Yeah.
way that appeals to that WrestleMania expectation that everything is like a big spectacle in the match. So that's what I would prefer for WrestleMania. Um, I know that people are sort of still thinking Raquel is, going to go on this awesome run because she's, a Triple H kid and that she's going to, have this great summer and all this sort of stuff. But I don't know. After Asuka had this character change and it became apparent that this was something that was actually happening and it wasn't just her, teasing on social media or whatever. I think they're really high on Asuka, and I almost want her to have a nice title run. I almost want her to beat Bianca at WrestleMania.
See, I don't. How do you set that up though, too? Bianca's been on
Yeah,
this monster run. I mean, I'm here for the match. It's just I feel like you also have to, if you're gonna end Bianca Belair's reign, you also kind of have to protect it.
yeah,
Or as she got pinned by Bailey, so it's not like she hasn't been pinned before during her run. But I feel like at the same time, you're gonna want to protect this run that Bianca Belair has won, even if she does lose. So I don't know how they would lay that out, but I do think with this new character with Asuka, I see honestly, I don't necessarily think she needs the gold, especially if she's going on this new character. I think she can have so many fun and cool matches just with her
mhm,
character alone that doesn't necessarily need a title. But if they're going to set this match up with Bianca and kind of new territory for Bianca, Asuka would be a solid choice to have her dethrone Bianca Belair's reign finally. It's just how do you do that while also protecting Bianca Belair? I don't think it's going to be Raquel, but again, WWE obviously has some faith and are pushing Raquel, but I
yeah,
don't think she's ready yet. Then again, Rhea Ripley, beating Asuka at WrestleMania 2 years ago, she wasn't really ready either. It was very escalated and very quick. So who's
mhm.
to say? It could be Raquel potentially, but I do have to agree with you. I do think I think it's going to be Asuka, maybe Liv or Raquel, but I think it should be Asuka.
I think so too. But then I would love to see Liv get something, if not
Yeah.
this. Just a good match at WrestleMania, not like a 10-woman tag or something, just to get her on the card.
Well,
Or
I mean, she just teamed with I don't know why they kind of did away with her and Tegan, you know? They could have
Mhm.
kept running with that, but she just teamed with Raquel. So I mean, if Liv and Raquel don't win, I mean, maybe this is just another partner for Raquel, She's kind of who was she with? She was with Shotzi, she was with Aaliyah. This is kind of maybe just another partner for Raquel. I think that Liv should get something, but again, if it's not either of the major championships, I don't have much faith that WWE would put together a non-title centric women's storyline, unfortunately, heading into Mania.
that's a valid point. I mean, yeah, you're right. That's a valid point.
I mean, I would love it, but again, then you only have 6 weeks to craft up something so personal that it deserves that it gets a spot on the Mania card that doesn't involve a championship. So unless Liv gets somehow screwed or something that
Yeah.
at Chamber that could set up something, but as of right now, I don't have the faith for them to pull it off as much as I would love it.
I hope we're pleasantly surprised.
Same. I
So
think we will have some surprises, but yeah, go on. You were gonna mention the mixed tag match next.
yeah, I was just gonna say other things that are surprisingly nice. Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. We were talking before we went live. I'm like absurdly excited for this. And it's never some. I don't really ever enjoy this kind of thing. These I don't really like husband wife teams a lot, or like relationship teams.
Miz and Maurice beg to differ.
Oh, I do love Miz and
Becky and
Maurice.
Seth Rollins beg to differ.
I feel like sometimes
Yeah.
it feels forced. Not that their relationship is forced.
No, I
That
know.
they're forced together on screen because they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
But I'm super into this. I really love this Beth Phoenix. If she feels different from how she was in her when she was
Oh,
full
no, she
time in her full
definitely
time
is.
wrestling
She's a
career.
glam mother now.
Yeah, and there's like an edge to her that wasn't there. Like before, she
Mhm.
was tough and she beat everyone because she's Beth Phoenix and she's muscly and whatever. But now it's like she's almost feeding on
She's
that not
Viking. You could just say it.
yeah,
She's Viking.
yeah. And I'm really, really into it. And Edge, in my opinion, has been really good since he returned from retirement. I think he's done some really creative stuff and that he didn't really do a whole lot of when he was full time. It's like they're older now, so it's almost like they feel like they could be a little more innovative, a little
Yeah.
more experimental because they're always going to be Hall of Famers. It's always going to be that way. And then Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley is interesting to me. I didn't enjoy the Finn Balor AJ Styles stuff really all that much. And like coming out of that, I was really down on Finn Balor. I was like, I don't like this. Like I was really down on the Judgment Day. I was like, they need to do something to fix this because I love Rhea Ripley and you're not going to drag her down with
Yeah.
this. And they did. I really love Rhea Ripley and I really love her relationship and the connection she has with Finn Balor. And I'm not even going to talk about Dominic Mysterio because he does not exist in my worldview. But this to me is super exciting. It's like generation clash. Like it's mixed tag, which is always fun. It's like mentor student vibes. There's like so many things here. I'm really into it.
There is, but Kiley, you cannot. I mean, granted, this is just a straight up mixed tag match. There's no like chamber or cage to block off
Yeah.
any outside interference. So you just know that ex condom is gonna try to pull up, try to get involved, but then Beth Phoenix is gonna whip his butt out of the ring. So that's gonna be entertaining to set up. Kind of before we get to like what potential Mania plans are. Like you said, I'm really excited for this matchup too. Obviously, last year Edge and Beth against Miz and Maurice. I mean, Maurice Hurricane Rana-ing, that was hard to say. Hurricane Rana-ing Edge was a move that nobody expected, and it was
Yeah.
Maurice's idea, which makes it even crazier. This is, again, the match to do it in, not just kind of, because Rhea and Finn are aligned, but Rhea Ripley, I mean, we've already seen her, and again, these intergender scenarios, which we don't see a lot of in WWE, but Rhea is the person that they've been going to kind of ignite that intergender flame. We saw her against the match with Akira Tozawa. She body slammed freaking Luke Gallows. She took out Carl Anderson and the OC. So we're gonna get something with Rhea and Edge. I mean, we saw it at the Royal Rumble too. Rhea attacked Edge from behind before Beth came in and swooped in to save Edge. So there's also that intergender aspect here. You know, this is personal for them. This is Edge and Beth looking for revenge, kind of triumphance, because the last time, you know, that they really squared off, which was at Extreme Rules, you know, did not end well for Edge and Beth. You know, they threatened Beth Phoenix got slammed with the chair. Edge was forced to say "I quit." This is personal for them. It just so happens to line up that it's kind of couple versus, you know, mixed gender team. And then I'm hoping, you know, this might not be everybody's match, but I'm really hoping, you know, we've seen Edge conquer Damian Priest. You know, this is going to be Edge's way to conquer Finn Balor. He wrestled Dom like right before he joined the Judgment Day, if not right after he joined the Judgment Day, but he has not faced ex-con Dom. So I'm hoping that this leads to ex-con Dom versus Edge at Mania, which I think is just going to be freaking hilarious, entertaining as hell to see Dom get his ass whooped. You can't erase Dom from this equation, unfortunately, Kiley. It might not be what you want.
I can try,
but Dom's gonna get involved. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this.
I will say this version of Dom is a lot more interesting than when he was a babyface in the Mysterios.
Yeah.
I mean, at least this, like, I could make fun of him, and I know that WWE
because
is making
we
fun
love
of him.
to make fun of him, you know?
Yeah. I think Dom versus Edge would be a lot of fun, and you could set that up here. I think, like you said, it's undeniable that he's going to come out just to do something, be an annoying little fly.
And then and Beth is just going to take him out of the equation, though. Just like the the iconic still, Eddie is your real father. And it's like, mommy, that, you know, it just got to happen. It's just got to happen.
I've said it before on Tag Talk. One of my favorite matches from my childhood is the custody of Dominic ladder match, which I know it's controversial. A lot of people really hated that, but I love it.
Yeah.
And I think that because that is such a part of who Dominic is, and it's WWE canon that he doesn't know who his real dad is. So why not lean into it and just have him be annoying? I'm most excited though, and I said this earlier, I'm most excited for the women in this match though.
Yes. Yeah.
I think Rhea Ripley going into WrestleMania, she's gonna have a great showing here. I think she's gonna probably do a spot where she outmuscles Beth Phoenix, and they're gonna have a lot of fun with that. It's just gonna be a good time. And I think it's a match where the story's serious, but I don't think we need to treat this entire match so seriously, which I really like. A breakup from all the serious doom and gloom of this card. Yeah. So I'm really excited for it.
And I think, honestly, this is one of these... I think Edge and Beth need this win here. Again, you don't want Rhea Ripley to head into Mania, you know, with an L. But you know, this would kind of not cap off the closure, but it would, again, kind of be justice for Edge and Beth from Extreme Rules. So I feel like the win is due here. I feel like as long as Ripley doesn't take the pin, I think it would have to be Balor. I think she's okay heading into Mania. I don't think a loss here would take away from much momentum as she pivots then to Charlotte Flair, but you would have to be sure that Balor takes the pin here. I think Edge and Beth kind of need this win as kind of justice for us. We're getting back at you for Extreme Rules. I don't think they can really like afford another beat down or like loss. So, I mean,
I can see.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can see it going either way. Yeah. I think regardless of, I think the outcome really isn't the important part here. I think it's the match itself and like who interferes, how do they interfere, how does it go over, that kind of stuff, which is really a lot of fun. And I'm excited for Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. So this is like a little stepping stone for her into her match with Charlotte, which is going to be absolutely insane.
I'm excited for that one. I know a lot of people were hoping that she would go after Bianca. You know, they've been kind of teasing it for a couple years. They were the final two in the 2021 Royal Rumble. They had a little bit of a tiff in NXT, but I think the story. I love Charlotte Flair. I truly still think Rhea should have beaten Charlotte at Mania 36, but Rhea kind of coming back after she's reinvented herself. She's gotten more confident. She is not the same girl that she was in NXT. So personally, I think right now is a good time to come back to that Charlotte and Rhea storyline with, ironically, Rhea now is the heel and Charlotte is the babyface, though. This more confident, this more mature Rhea Ripley going back to reverse her fate, get some closure, and know that she can beat Charlotte. I mean, they face each other in 2021, after WrestleMania and all of that. But again, this is going back to their Mania, and it's the first time too that we've seen a women's singles rematch at WrestleMania. So that happened 3 years ago. Now they're coming back. Rhea Ripley is a different person, obviously looks wise, age wise, maturity wise. So the story's there. So I'm excited for Rhea and Charlotte. I love Charlotte, but it would be cool for Rhea to get that gotcha right back. So we'll see.
Yeah, and like you said earlier when we were talking about the US title, Judgment Day needs something.
Yeah.
To give him something.
If it's not like Damian Priest has a chance at Chamber, doesn't look likely for him, but yeah, it would be. I think Judgment Day needs some gold on them, whether that be, Damian Priest at Chamber or Rhea Ripley at Mania. I think it's time.
So we have one more match to talk about, which I think is super, super exciting. So basically,
it's not confirmed, but
rumor and suggestion. So remembering back to, I think it was Raw. Lita returns on Raw.
Yes.
She helps Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is in this feud with Damage Control. So presumably you would build the story to a 3-on-3 scenario because there's 3 members of Damage Control. So rumor, report, whatever you want to say, it'll be Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish against Damage Control, Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. Which I almost feel like that should be on WrestleMania.
Agreed, but with the again other reports of Ronda Rousey wanting to get into the tag division, it doesn't. Granted they could, but I don't think at this point you leave Ronda Rousey off of a WrestleMania card. Personally, I'd be fine with it, but WWE wise, you don't leave Ronda off the Mania card if she's there and available. So that means you would have to have this very quickly put together tonight. Again, there's been reports that Trish Stratus is on the site of Monday Night Raw tonight, which, would make sense. Team bestie, Lita, right there. Technically, Trish did have her retirement match against Charlotte Flair, but nobody's ever truly retired in wrestling, ever. No. But again, it keeps Becky Lynch occupied during WrestleMania season, as she should be, as Bayley should be, as the women's tag team champions should be. And it sets up an interesting thing. Titles obviously wouldn't be on the line. It'd be, at least I wouldn't assume so, it'd be 3-on-3. And then maybe it sets up, again, we were talking about how do you set up the women's tag titles. Then who does Becky chooses her partner potentially for Mania? I don't know, but I think that this would be really exciting. I know fans would be definitely behind Becky, Trish, and Lita. There's something there. It gives Damage Control some more competitors,
Yes.
We haven't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've seen, at least on television, live events they probably have, but I don't think we've seen Damage Control 3-on-3 versus anybody yet. We might have actually with Bianca and Alexa leading up to War Games, but I don't think that we've seen a 3-on-3 matchup with them televised yet. And if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but I don't think that we have yet.
Not that I remember, and
No.
if it happened, it clearly wasn't a big deal because we don't remember
No,
it.
no, they probably have. They definitely have on live events like 3 on
Yeah.
3, but I don't think we've seen a televised or even pay-per-view 3 on 3 match yet with them, you know? So I think this is really gonna be the first time to see Damage Control is truly a unit all together in the ring, seeing what they can do.
Yeah, and I think Damage Control and the women's tag division in general really does need something to kickstart it, and I think if Ronda really truly does wanna go for the women's tag titles, which, I mean, she's well within her right to do so, I guess, I do think that they should get something going here, just to get Damage Control some momentum headed into WrestleMania because the women's tag division as a whole has just kind of been there.
Obsolete.
It's just like a piece of a show, but like
Yeah.
there's no force behind it. It's just
No.
there most times. I mean, Bailey, she's always around doing stuff, but I don't think
Mm.
she's in the tag division, so to
No.
speak. Um, Ronda wanting to go for the tag belts, I'll accept it because I
You know,
think
it kind of makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
her and Shayna were part of the MMA's four horsewomen. It's not like it's just random. It's
yeah,
just we didn't really see them on screen a lot together up until recent months. And obviously now with Ronda just returning on SmackDown, that kind of plants
yeah,
the seeds of them as a team again post Chamber. And if they're going to want to, you know, go be a contender to Damage Control, two heel teams, so you kind of need at least a third team to fill in
yes.
that gap to be your babyface team, which I guess by default would be some combination. Maybe, you know, what if it's just Team Bestie and Becky Lynch is their manager? I don't know. You do not keep Becky Lynch off of the Mania card
You
though.
can't.
So again, what happens then? Does Becky have to pick Trish or Lita, or is it just straight up Team Bestie and Becky Lynch is their manager? I don't know. But you need that third face team to spice things up to give the crowd someone to root for in that scenario, you know.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I was saying this earlier, I'm really optimistic about Elimination Chamber and also WrestleMania season. I just looking ahead to WrestleMania, I think there's a lot of opportunities to really right some wrongs and give people their due, but also fix a lot of problems that have happened. And I think the women's tag division is one area where there's a lot of opportunity that maybe is hidden that they haven't really done a whole lot with. So I think Damage Control sort of getting an opportunity to wrestle at WrestleMania against people like Lita and Trish, who are these legends, and really getting the heat from that would be super interesting. I don't know where Becky fits in there.
I
You
don't
could,
either. You can't leave Becky off of this card again. I don't.
and it's
Granted they Bailey wasn't on the Mania card for 36, 37, 37, I think it was, where she was the host instead.
mhm,
I don't see Becky Lynch fulfilling that role as a host, but we've seen it before where like top women are like left off of the card.
yeah.
Bailey was the host. I don't see Becky being in that same situation though. But I think they will have something for Becky. I just don't know. I just don't know what it would be right now, especially if it is for the tag titles. How does she decide then between Trish and Lita? Or again, is she kind of just a manager role? I don't know.
I don't know either, and I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. I mean, you could always just give her a different partner and just add another team to the mix, I guess. I don't
Who would
think
that be though
WWE.
from Raw?
I don't know. I don't
Who
know.
okay, I mean, granted, the lines are kind of blurred for Mania season. There's going to be some SmackDown stars on Raw tonight. I mean, we were talking about Liv Morgan. I mean, being off of the card, but we haven't really seen. I mean, Becky and Liv, they have their history, you know,
Yeah.
that would give Liv something to do. But also, I'm still kind of like, oh, I don't want to like throw teams together. But also, I feel like this wouldn't be. I don't think it would be a three-way. I know we were talking before off air about the possibility of some NXT call-ups. Obviously, a lot
Mhm.
of people are talking about Toxic Attraction possibly being called up for this. That's evidently not happening.
Yep.
JC Jane obviously turned on Gigi Dolan, but it leaves one team kind of available that have been a team for a while in NXT, that being Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. They just dropped the NXT Women's Championship, so they don't have those. I mean, they just conveniently dropped them. So at Vengeance Day. So that kind of leaves them available as now the time for them to finally get caught up. I mean, Casey's been there since 2017. I believe Caden's been there since 2018. They've been in the NXT system for like 5-6 years. So now might be the time, so you have an even 2 heels and 2 face teams. I mean, we've seen them throw women's tag team matches together before, like they did last year, the year before, kind of just throw these matches together or even throw teams together. I don't know what Becky Lynch's WrestleMania is looking like right now, but that's really seems to be the only viable option right now. Unless she's like a special guest ref or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't like to compare the men's and women's tag divisions that often, but I almost feel like it's the Usos are going to have something with the bloodline at WrestleMania. It's going to be, regardless of whether they're wrestling Sami Zayn or not, like the bloodline presence is going to be so strong. And I would like the women to have something fun to sort of hold their own with that, that monster of a story that is the bloodline. So just putting some fun teams in here and just having a good match. Like, it doesn't have to be super story driven or super intense. Like, just have a good time. And I think Becky Lynch being there would really, really help it. Regardless of whether she's teaming with Lita or Trish, or she's teaming with someone else, or if she's managing whatever, I think this is a good spot for her to really save this for the crowd.
Yeah. Or it might be, we were mentioning Liv and Raquel, those seem to be 2 top stars too in obviously I don't see that either. I think Asuka is going to win Chamber, but it leaves them available to do something. They just teamed together on SmackDown. I mean, that might be an angle going forward. Obviously, they're 2 of the top names in the women's division on SmackDown, and it would give them something to do. And like we said, they've thrown teams together before. Not that that's my favorite route to go at this point, but there really is no teams outside of Damage Control right now, at least leading up. Ronda and Shayna are together now, but other than that, there really is no like teams right now.
Yeah. And I think they'll figure it out. I think I don't see a whole lot of I mean, I don't see a whole lot of routes, I guess, where that they could take with any of this that I would not like it, but I would like actively despise it and hate it. I think if Trish is in this spot and it's Becky, Lita, and Trish, I think that is really, really interesting, and I would love to see something with that done at WrestleMania. But overall, I think the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view is really strong, and whether they deliver or not is, in question, of course. But for being between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, when it's historically no one cares about those pay-per-views, I'm really excited about it. I really, really am. I love to see these sort of middle of the road, these B shows treated as building blocks for the next big show. Like, it seems so dumb and so like common sense that you would do it that way, but WWE really hasn't in the past.
And like we were mentioning too, this is like the Elimination Chamber as a whole definitely feels a worthy show. It doesn't just feel like a filler. It's setting up stuff. And the card itself, there's story there. There's some intriguing matchup. The pay-per-view as a whole is a huge selling point. Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Edge and Beth. Again, there's story there. And it's also setting up for WrestleMania. Whoever wins the Raw Women's #1 contender will go on to face Bianca Belair at Mania. Now, the pay-per-view as a whole is a selling point. The Elimination Chamber match itself is ironically not. So, I mean, it kind of seems like the Chamber match itself doesn't really matter. It's more the stakes,
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It feels like it's kind of just like, yeah, it'll just be inside a chamber match. It's not like they're pointing out this is going to be inside this grueling structure that's going to push you. And like, I don't know how to explain it. The pay-per-view itself is great, but obviously the chamber match itself, as in kind of some years past, which would be the selling point of the pay-per-view, it's not the selling point. It's the stories plus the lead up to WrestleMania that they're building off of at this pay-per-view.
Yeah, and it almost feels like with Roman and Sammy being on the card, it's like nothing is going to outshine that
No.
WWE can pull together. So the Elimination Chamber matches, I think there's interesting people in them. I think there's a lot of interesting things they can do, and I think they'll be good. But I'm really excited, like you said, for this Bloodline story and also this Judgment Day, Edge, Beth Phoenix situation. I think those are the biggest selling points
Mhm.
for me because those are the things I'm most excited about headed into WrestleMania. And I think WWE knows that the fans are
Yeah.
probably most excited
And
about those.
and also like who's gonna, Bianca's been this huge kind of WrestleMania has been her marquee moment, she's 2 and
Yes.
0 at Mania now. So it's like who can step up to Bianca, but if it's Asuka, the story gets interesting because like I said, Bianca Belair has not faced an opponent
Mhm.
quite like Asuka yet. So is Bianca Belair ready for Asuka? Is the question again, assuming she wins. So there's a little bit of, it's not the chamber matches itself, but it's more kind of like the winners of those, for the United States Championship. It's really just a matter of which match between Seth and Logan and John Cena and Austin Theory do you want to involve the US title in? Whereas, the Raw Women's Championship, the chamber, it's just kind of there for me, but I'm more
Yeah.
invested in who is going to face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania more than the chamber match itself. Which is kind of sad though at the same time because chamber used to be one that I would really look forward to, the match itself.
Yeah. And I think the chamber has always, at least in the last few years, been a match where a lot of guys kind of like catapult themselves up into,
Mhm.
if not into matches at WrestleMania, then into like higher spots on the card.
So I
So
think
we
I
might,
I think that might be that spot for Montez this year then though, that I like I said,
yeah,
I I could be completely wrong, but I think this is gonna be a real good time to have a good run for Montez to set him up, to
yeah.
push him even more. They're still involved in the tag titles, but to show that he has capabilities outside of the tag division. I could be wrong, but
No, I definitely think you're right, and I think this show is just it's a positive sign for WWE. If they deliver, I should say. On
yes,
paper,
yes.
on
Yeah,
paper,
on
this looks
paper.
really good. Yes.
Yes.
So,
Watch us be
so
completely wrong, but
and
who
then we'll
knows?
go back and watch this and be like, "Oh, we were so
We're
optimistic."
so wrong. We have to be right at least, I think, about one thing, though. We'll see, though.
I mean, I hope we're right about everything because what we just talked about, like now I'm even more excited for Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of really interesting ideas. But we're coming up on an hour 15 minutes. I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time. So, what are your closing thoughts and then your plugs? Where can the people find you? What are you doing
Mhm.
online in your life? All that stuff.
Closing thoughts, man. I'm really excited. I think we'll have more of an idea. Bobby and Brock is definitely getting locked in tonight. We'll get more of an idea of this whole damage control situation if Trish Stratus actually shows up tonight. So ask me in about 24 hours on
Yeah.
Twitter if you want. It is all dependent, obviously if Trish shows up tonight. But as a whole, like I said, there's a lot. There's good. This is like a worthy investment of a pay-per-view to watch, not only story-wise, like the bloodline and Sami Zayn, but also it's actually setting up for WrestleMania. It's not a
Yeah.
filler, Whoever wins that Raw Women's Championship number one contender match is going to be facing Bianca Belair. This United States Championship, it could have some implications in WrestleMania, whether Austin Theory retains and then goes to face John Cena, or Seth Rollins wins and then Logan Paul is getting another championship matchup. There's some actually investment in this pay-per-view. It does not feel like a filler at all. So I'm really looking forward to it. I feel like I'm hoping we get Edge and Dom. I hope it sets up for that. I'm really hopeful for that because I can't see Edge doing anything else right now,
Yeah.
honestly. But like I said, it's going to be a launching pad to go on to WrestleMania and continue some stories or plotting or thicken some plots too. Um, But the easiest way you can find me is where I'm most active, which is on Twitter. I'm like terrible with all the other ones, to be honest. So the easiest way is on Twitter, where it says right here at it's LJ. If you go to link in my bio, all my links to all my projects and podcasts and writing is all in one convenient place for you.
I highly recommend everyone, if you aren't already, which I presume all of you are, go check out everything Ella does because you're fantastic. But
I'm so glad we got to finally do this.
I know we've been talking. And I think we said this earlier. We've been talking for like a long time about finally doing a show together, and it like the stars aligned, and it just so happened that you on your busy schedule were free at the exact time that I needed you. So it worked out.
Mondays are the best weekdays for me, at least midday wise, anyway.
And I am so grateful for that. But my closing thoughts: Elimination Chamber looks really strong, and AEW Revolution does not. And that is like a weird thing to say.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We need to take bets, though. How long do we think Revolution is going to be versus Chamber? I think Chamber is going to clock in. So we think it, not including the pre-shows.
Yeah.
Not including the pre-shows. Chamber starts at 8 o'clock Eastern. I think it probably is going to be I think it would be closer to right now there's only going to be like 5 matches, right? So I think it would actually be about 3.5. If there was a 6th match, if that tag match 6-man 6-woman is added, then maybe 4 hours. But if it's just the 5, I would say 3.5 for Chamber.
I was gonna say 3, but the more I think about it, the more I think that the Roman Sammy one will go long, and I think the men's Elimination Chamber, they'll really want that to go long, a lot longer than the women's.
Yeah, I think that's going to go probably about 40, 45. I think the women's is probably only going to be about a half hour, 35 minutes long, maybe.
I could see it going 4.
Maybe.
But I don't think it's going to be longer than 4. I think between 3 and 4, I think is the safest bet.
Versus AEW, between 6 and 8. It just depends how many matches there are on this card. Between 6 and 8 hours.
It's gonna be, and with AEW, that's like they always put the guys on the card who are going to have long matches, and then they're like, you know what else we need? A guaranteed 60-minute one, because we're gonna carve out a whole hour for this Iron Man match.
Yeah,
which. I mean, AEW has done the Iron Man thing in the past, but it's been 30 minutes. This is double.
Well, I mean, it's Bryan Danielson, though. So, like, it's got to be 60.
He gets the special treatment.
He does.
I mean, I'm excited for it regardless, because I think Danielson in an Iron Man match is going to be a lot of fun. And I think he's been super creative.
Be so tired if it's the main event.
I know.
I don't know about you, but like I said, I start work early on Mondays. I can't stay up till 3 a.m. I'll catch you the next day.
It's gonna definitely be 6. Like it has to be at least.
I think it's gonna be 6 to 8.
Because if you think about it, they normally go like 5, and if you add an hour, it's 6.
Okay,
so
fair, but I don't know. They're on the West Coast though, so time is like they're 3 hours behind.
The crowd won't be tired.
No, I mean, I still think he's gonna try to end around midnight, like the East Coast shows would. To be honest,
I think so.
That would put it in around 7, though. 7.
Oh man, this is gonna be an absolute marathon of a pay-per-view.
It's gonna be like how Mania was before they split it into 2 days.
Oh, like the 12-hour WrestleManias.
More like 8. Like I said, we're not including the pre-show. If we're not including the pre-show, then I think it's gonna be 6 to 7.
Oh man, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I don't even know.
And the thing is, we barely have any matches announced for it yet. We're just guessing at this point.
And it's just because we know Tony Khan, and we know that he's gonna do everything possible to get every single wrestler on that card.
Yeah,
absolutely everyone. But okay, my plugs. I have the big plug to do. You can follow me on Twitter at @Fuller_Kiley. I post everything I'm doing there. This is Tag Talk. We're live every Monday at 3 on Fightful Overbooked. My normal co-host Haley, she's out for a little bit. She's doing like a mental health break. So I'll have a different guest every week. So this week we had the wonderful Ella J, which I think this was a fantastic show. Thank you so much for coming. It really does mean the world. But Fightful overbooked. This is like the ESPN 2 or the ESPN Plus of Fightful. So there's lots of shows on here that are about wrestling. We have some interviews, some podcasts kind of like this one. Lots of different things. We have things that aren't about wrestling. Like there's, I don't know a whole lot about basketball. There's a basketball show. There's a Degrassi show. There's like all sorts of interesting stuff on Fightful Overbooked. A lot of really great people. So go check out all of that stuff as well. Make sure you subscribe to Fightful Overbooked because the channel is growing really, really fast. And that's really, really awesome. And you want to be a part of it.
And contribute to the WWE
yes.
fund. So
all of our super chats
can buy
WWE
instead
of
buy
WWE.
Instead of Comcast, which is what Tony Khan is going to become when he buys Comcast.
So. Yeah, we're going to outbid Tony Khan through crowdsourcing through super chats.
Yes.
And your super chat, like you buy a share in WWE. So it's like an investment. It's smart. It's smart. It's just, you know what? Us owning WWE would be best case scenario, I think.
It would.
If you're watching this after we go live, I still want to know what you have to say. So make sure you comment below your thoughts on the Ass Boys, on Roman Reigns, on anything we talked about, or maybe things we didn't talk about. Make sure you comment that below and like this video. And then go and watch everything else that's on Fightful Overbooked. I think I hit all the plugs.
You did.
Someone will comment and be like, well, you didn't talk about this, but that's fine. Like I said, Monday at 3, this is a normal time. Last week we were Wednesday just because there's extenuating circumstances, but Monday at 3. Next week I'll have another special guest, which I'm super excited about. And I think that's everything. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye.